I'm talking about 11 personnel, Gilbert. Will we finally see some 12 and 13 personnel formations this season? And you look at that tight end room, and I get excited about this tight end room because this is the deepest that room has been under McVay since McVay became the Rams head coach. You look at Tyler Higbee, Terrance Ferguson, Kobe Parkinson, Davis Allen is another guy that's been making plays in training camp. So I'm like, McVay keeps teasing the 12 and 13 personnel, and I'm like, are we finally going to get it? Because honestly, like it makes so much sense, especially if you went out and spent a second round pick on Terrance Ferguson.
Yeah, it's tricky because if Sean McVay's goal for a while has been to get like a very talented, pass catcher tight end, one that focuses more in the passing game than a blocking game. We all know that they tried going up for Brock Bowers in 24, and that didn't work out. I think there were some connections to, was it Colston Loveland or was it Tyler Warren? I forget which one they
I
wanted.
think it was Colston Loveland.
So one of those two. So that tells
Yeah.
me they really want a tight end who could do pretty much everything and be more of a weapon in the passing game. So that to me kind of shows me they still want to be 11 personnel. They want somebody who could do everything. And I think for a long time, Tyler Higbee did that, pretty well. He just wasn't the game changer in terms of the passing game. And I think that's what they really want. So maybe it becomes Terrance Ferguson and it just becomes Ferguson, uh, you know, Puka and Devontae that kind of run the show, and then Tuta Atwell just go run deep and create some opportunities for the other guys. If somebody's gonna shadow you and follow you deep, like they gotta respect you, right? So
Yep.
that's the one defender you move away. Or maybe you're onto something, Vic. Maybe it is okay, 2-2, just kind of play and base and then get out of here when we're gonna move to a 12 personnel. Here's $10 million for your trouble. And then yeah, you go two tight end sets and you have Puka and Devontae. So that definitely
Yep.
you could do it. And you got Kyron
Yep.
Williams who could help you out of the backfield too. So and I know we know that McVay really loves Higbee, but he's older too. And then Ferguson is also a rookie. You don't know how much you're going to get. So I think maybe it's more about okay, how advanced is Ferguson? How healthy is Higbee before they start doing that? But you're right. If they have the option, they've created something here to not be so predictable. And you know, I think it was my colleague Albert Breer was talking about the 49ers and how they have to reinvent themselves because everybody does a Kyle Shanahan scheme. Everybody runs a Shanahan running scheme. Everybody's doing the same thing over and over again. Well, now it's your turn to Zag or whatever, Zig or Zag. You have to be different. And same thing with Sean McVay. People know his principles, his foundations, and what he does well with 11 personnel. So maybe you're right. Maybe you're onto something where it's kind of 2023 where they went into more of this gap scheme for the running game, and that helped out. Maybe something different in 25, and maybe it is a 12 personnel.
Yeah, and I forget who it was outside of listening to Cooper Cup and how they changed the game in 2017 when he came in, and the formations that they were doing and how they were able to have eh, they were able to attack every defense until the defenses kind of figured out what they were doing, and so then they needed to kind of change things. And someone said, I saw this recently, and I don't know why I'm forgetting about it, but who it was, they were talking about how every year you're gonna see elements of football where you go back to the basics, right? We're gonna see smash mouth football. We're starting to see it with a lot of these coaches like Pete Carroll and Jim Harbaugh,
Mhm.
where they're just like, look, at the end of the day, if you have power football that and you have the guys in the trenches, if you can't stop me, it's gonna be a long day. And I feel like eventually, Sean McVay is gonna make that. He's gonna continue to evolve his offense, and it's gonna be geared towards having like a 12 personnel 13. I keep thinking about like, and I know these names are gonna kind of irritate some people, but if you look at the Patriots with those two tight end sets back in the day, with Gronk, and I won't name the other person who was involved. But you look at those and how successful they were with Tom Brady. That kind of stuff, especially if you're able to run the ball and you're able to kind of scheme things up, I think will help this team, especially if you don't have Matthew Stafford at the beginning of the season, Gilbert.
The thing that's weird about that is that every time somebody wants to talk about 12 personnel and 2 tight ends, they always bring up the Patriots from 10 years ago, or is it
Yep.
14, 15 years ago? It's like, why don't more teams do it? And maybe it's part of it is like you don't want to invest too much into the tight end position because wide receivers are so damn expensive. And maybe part of it is a copycat lead, like because people want to follow what Sean McVay has done the last few years, where you have 3 wide receivers, and that's pretty much been the norm. Is the three wide receivers. So maybe I'm blanking on somebody who's really invested on the tight end position or really relied on it heavily. But it's hard for me to remember. So I'm sure there's somebody out there, but for some reason people don't do it, and I wonder what it is. Why don't people? Is it just about the money and you want wide receivers? Is it who knows? Maybe the Raiders tried something different this year because they have Brock Bowers and he's their best option. Maybe Michael Mayer helps out. Who knows? Maybe they're the only team that comes to mind right now with the
Well,
12
the
personnel.
if you look at the Bears too, they have
Yeah,
uh
go commit.
Loveland and Komet. I
Good
mean,
point.
you're starting to see it.
Yeah,
The Lions. I mean, you're starting to see more of a commitment with more tight ends, and we'll see. I mean, what needs to happen though, Gilbert, is that someone needs to do it, and they need to be successful with it.
yeah,
And I think part of the pushback as to why you don't see it as much is because defenses are really good at being able to counter everything that you can do with the two tight ends set, especially if you have whether we've seen a lot of these teams run, these dime packages, and they run nickels, and so they have a lot of tweener guys, and that's the other evolution too, Gilbert. Like I just saw that Jamal Adams is playing linebacker, and that's because they want to be faster. They want to be able to cover a lot of these tight ends for that reason, because you're starting to see that those two tight end sets are coming, and it's just you want to be prepared and be able to have the athletes out there to be able to cover
yeah.
two tight
Maybe,
end
yeah,
sets.
the Steelers could be another one. Jonnu Smith and Pat Fryermuth.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
so there is something there, and the Chiefs don't necessarily have two great tight ends, but they're the big part of them winning two Super Bowls and going to three in a row was Travis Kelsey was the number one option. So there's a blueprint in place to be like, hey, it's okay if your tight end is making these plays here. You can still win games. And that was after the Tyreek Hill trade. And okay, now it's Kelsey for sure. And they evolved and they had guys like Noah like you don't have to be like
Noah
think
Gray's
about
the guy. Yeah, I was
yeah,
thinking number 84. I was like, I think you're sleeping on Noah Gray. Like
yeah,
I
I
was
don't
just trying to
I
think
don't
of
know
his
if he's gonna
name.
be a guy. I like Noah Gray. I think he's a reliable player. But I don't know if he's ever gonna get to that point. And people talk about I'll just say Hernandez and Gronk. Like he's
Right.
not gonna get to that point. But yeah, it's something where you don't have to have two stars. I mean, that's why it's hard for me to remember. If you have somebody who's reliable, Noah Gray was really stepping up when Kelsey was pretty gassed last year. Let's not forget about that. So it's a good point there. It's just you know would you rather have Noah Gray or Cole Kmet? Like I'd rather have Cole Kmet. So sometimes
Yeah.
it's about talent and then also where you end up. So that's kind of my point. Is sometimes it's okay to have your tight end be the number one option. That won't be the case with the Rams, but there is this evolution of okay, tight ends have to be more involved in very unique ways.
Yeah, and I agree, and we'll see. I feel like kind of like what we saw the shift with the linebackers the last couple of years, especially once you started seeing a lot of these coordinators be able to use them wisely. I feel like you're starting to see, like, the Colts came to mind too with the whole tight end thing. They've been drafting tight ends and trying to develop them too, and they just haven't been able to hit on them like
Yeah.
they want to. So and now they have one in Tyler Warren. So we'll see how that goes.